Mojo 50.
And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Americanuck Radio. News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Filip.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio on Mojo 50 WBN 324 and the Stu Peters Network. I'm Mike Filip, and we have got Greg freaking Meakin. He's back. He's joining us. He's very enthusiastic, and I actually am looking forward to doing a year in review, kind of a sort of a show. There's been a lot that has happened this year, and I mean a lot. And Greg was very, very insistent I play his intro, and so as much as I hate to do it, but I just couldn't stand the complaining and the whining, and it's like, fine, I'll play your intro.
Author Greg Meakin nails it. The border catastrophe, gas prices, and runaway inflation, the education mess. Greg sorts it all out and offers Greg's List solutions. Now presenting Dueling-Citizens with Greg Meakin.
Are we good, Greg? Are you happy?
We're not even 10 seconds in and you got me laughing again, Mikey. Come on, man. That's not even fair. I'm sitting here muted and I'm busting up.
Fair got nothing to do with
great.
it.
I'm happy. I forgive you of all of your pre-dementia thoughts for the entire year by forgetting my intro. Okay, I forgive you. It's almost New Year's. It's the end of the year. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you today. Seriously, I really am.
Yeah, me too. There's been a lot.
It's been a big year, man. It's been a crazy year, Mikey. But I really believe with all my heart that it's going to be a great 2023. But we can talk about that. I'm thrilled to be back on the air with you, Mike. Seriously, I love chatting with you, man.
Absolute dally. Well, last time we spoke, we had Dr. Glidden on, and we didn't get really a chance to talk too much, but since that conversation with Dr. Glidden, I've had a couple of really cool things happen due to advice that he's given me, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you today as well. And so, but you
awesome.
know, yesterday, and I want to say this right off the bat, not to put a damper on things, because I do want to have a kind of a more relaxed show today, but
sure.
Yesterday I talked about pornography, right? And we went through a lot of scripture, but last night I want to say this. I went to the website that I had gotten a bunch of the research off of, fightthenewdrug.org. That's fightthenewdrug.org. And they have a documentary on the porn industry and like what it does to people, what it does to relationships, what it does to consumers of it, people that are involved in producing it, and society in general. And they do it from a non-religious or political point of view, just strictly here's what it is, here's what it does. And I want to recommend that to everybody watching the show today, like, because it's fascinating. It's, you know, and like I said on the show yesterday, people are so worried about vaccines and COVID and stuff, and like there's more destructive things happening under the surface that are coming to the surface and are right in front of everybody's eyes. But it's been there this whole time, and it almost gets to the point where, like, constantly focusing on January 6th and vaccines is almost like a distraction, because there are other things that are important and need to be talked about. And so in looking for a topic for the show, I like getting into these other areas because there are so many that are talking about the same thing. And so,
Sure.
you know, we want to try and break away from the pack and do something different around here. And that's why
Sure.
we do what we do. And so, Greg, I'm going to let you start off with
But
launching
just on
the
that note,
conversation.
Mike, honestly, to finish up on that note,
Yeah.
because it's so important what you're bringing up, and I didn't get to hear the whole show, but your show about pornography and
Yeah.
stuff, and it just, you know, again, serious subject to start, but important subject, life-changing subject, existential subject.
Yeah.
And just as a side note, this jumped out at me while you were talking. There's proof in the pudding that porn is absolutely egregious, and that came from a gentleman named Ted Bundy. I can't
Yeah.
believe I mentioned his name, but I
Right.
know this for a fact. And fact checked it. He had confessed to, I believe it was, I think at the time Kessler. He's one of the FBI the FBI profilers. He had said the biggest issue in his life was porn.
Yeah,
Ted Bundy.
and look where it took him. The other thing about
There you go.
Ted Bundy is that, like, he was a well-dressed, good-looking
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
Like, it wasn't difficult for him to talk a young girl into his car,
course.
thinking that everything was fine, and then boom, you find yourself tied up in the basement getting tortured to death.
Right.
And like,
Right.
we really need to teach our kids these things. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
letting your kids grow up in front of a television set.
Absolutely.
You're almost setting them up for something awful or
Yep.
for failure. I mean, we need to get the Word of God in them, and have them walk in a way that they're not, and pray for them, so they don't walk into a trap or get caught by a predator. And
Sure.
that's been a big part of what I do. And like I said, divorce, right? Just divorce
yeah.
and
Oh,
marriages breaking up. Like that
Oh,
that
yeah.
destroys so many people. And I've had broken relationships in my life. I know what it's like, but you know, these are the things that I want to bring up and fight on the show.
Well, it's important, Mike, because it's affecting us human beings, Americans, Canadians, every day.
huge, yeah.
Period. Every
Yeah.
day, and dramatically negative affecting. And just a side note here, you know, I do 100 side notes, but as a side note here, this gets down to me. A lot of the things that we hear, and it relates
Yep.
to pornography and other things. A lot of we've been drummed into since probably the 60s, 70s. Things have been drummed into us for when you talk on the divorce issue. Remember, quality time, not quantity time. We only need quality time raising our kids, not quantity. And that's the biggest nonsense in the world. Your kids want quantity time with you. They want to just know you, good, bad, or anywhere in between. But they don't want quality little, it's called helicopter parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, they want quantity time. So that was drummed into us, and other things have been drummed into us. And your message and my message and everything else is, no. This is real stuff. This is affecting people every day. Again, not to get macabre in any way, but this subject's so important. The words human trafficking and on and on are completely in front of our noses every day and on TV every day. So it's a big
Totally.
issue, and education like you are doing with your flock and elsewhere is what it's all about.
That's it, yeah. And like, go and watch that documentary. I urge everybody. It's fightthenewdrug.org, and I'm
yeah.
actually going to reach out to their office in
Right.
Salt Lake City, Utah,
Right.
and see if I can get one of them on to have a candid conversation in the new year. But like the studies that they go through, like, you know, a lot of people, they want to talk about Satanism and kids in tunnels and like, but the fact is, there's a lot of patriots out there that are concerned with big hot button issues, but they're actually contributing to these hot button issues without knowing it by clicking on those links when nobody's looking.
Right.
And the other thing that, this is me, it wasn't in the documentary, but just thinking about it and talking with my brother last night, there used to be a thing called, well, still is, but a honeypot, right? Like when you watch the James Bond movies and 007 and these spy flicks, right? They always had the Russian bombshell female secret
yeah.
agent that would try to get a general with the opposing army or a politician in the sack with them, right? And so
Sure,
like
right.
look at Eric Swalwell and Fang Fang, right? So like, but like in China, they made it illegal, right? Like it still gets through, but officially it's illegal, right? So it's not as widespread as it is here, but they are not afraid to use that as a weapon on us. And that whole thing with the honeypot or the honey trap in spy circles, now what they've managed to do is honeypot almost the entire population, where everybody is compromised on some level.
Absolutely.
And has something to hide that can be used against them and causes them to, you know what I'm saying? So like,
oh, absolutely. Well, this is modus operandi. I'll say it. This is modus operandi of the Chinese Communist Party.
Right.
It's called blackmail. It's called having something on you, whatever. I think there's. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think in the world there's more of that happening than we would ever know. And I think there are people compromised that are maybe right before us. Can you imagine, Mike? Can you imagine if Swalwell, maybe a Trump kid had done that, or a Republican politician had done that? I mean, dating a Chinese spy. Can you imagine what would I can't believe they looked the other way on that. I can't believe it, Mike.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're compromised, right? Like it's just that simple. I mean, and the other thing about them, the political left or whatever you want to call them, is that they're a lot more tight and they're more organized than we are, and they stick up for each other more than conservatives and Republicans. Like I've said this before, libertarians trying to get them all on the same page is like herding cats, right? Because they can't agree with anybody, much less each other, because they can't take an idea from somebody else because it didn't come from me, and I'm a libertarian, and I can't. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, but division is not a bad thing. I will say that.
You're touching on key points here. I was producing an essay a while back, and I haven't published it, but I might. It's called "Circling the Wagons." Mm-hmm. The big difference that I see, you just touched on it. Democrats versus Republicans. I don't think Republicans are good at the kind of covert game, or the ground game, or the early mail-in game, or the smearing your opponent's game, I don't think they're as good as Democrats are. But one thing Democrats do, and I'll take a stand on this. One thing Democrats do, and it started in the Bill Clinton years, is they circle the wagons. They circle the wagons around Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah, they cover for each other. That's
told you're a piece of garbage if you question what he did.
Right.
James Carville. It's all about sex. It's just all about sex.
It's not even that they like each other, because I don't believe that they do. Sure. I think they hate each other just as much as anybody else. But I think that they understand on some level that it's a matter of survival to cover for each other, and so they do it out of self-interest.
Yep. Absolutely. There's one goal, and I think Democrats have mastered this. It sounds funny, but I really mean it. They will sacrifice everything to stay in political office.
Yeah, they'll say anything. They'll do anything.
I mean, sacrifice to keep. Let's go to the other show, John Fetterman. Right, that's another 3 shows in a row. But because they'll circle the wagons, and they will absolutely. I mean, they've got advanced talent they're using now with the true canceling, censoring. You got the media on your side, 80% plus, and on and on. But it's the circling the wagons, because I've contended something really controversial, Mike. I've said I don't think Republicans are good at that, and I'll tell you one thing. I don't think Republicans would circle the wagons around a candidate, and I'm talking everybody: the Donald Trumps, the DeSantises. I don't think they'd circle the wagons out around anyone if they truly committed these kind of treasonous acts. I don't think so at all. I think they would. I think they'd move on to another candidate. There's other candidates, so I don't see and I don't feel the desperation for political power at all costs. I just have never seen it really until the last few years, Mike. And so you're identifying something that I think is real significant.
Right. And here's the other thing, like with everything that's happening with Russia and Ukraine,
Right.
a lot of people are very concerned about the looming threat of nuclear war, right? But I would like to just throw this out there, right? What if that's the only way to clean it up? What if that's the Meakin? Like look at a lot of cities in the United States of America, how they're completely disintegrating and falling to garbage, barely. I mean, look at San Francisco and the maps of needles and feces in the streets and public infrastructure that's disintegrating due to public urination and things like that. Like, we've all covered these stories. What if the very best thing, and I if you live in one of these areas, nothing personal, but what if like Sodom and Gomorrah, or Jerusalem being carried into captivity? What if that's the best thing that could happen for America, is a healthy bowel movement of, say, some of these cities that are just completely gone, being wiped off the map?
Yep. We've said it before in previous shows. Rudy Giuliani proved that you could do it. What you do is, I've said this on previous show, Mike, maybe things don't have to completely implode, but you kind of go in and give the city a good scrubbing.
Right.
Give the country a good scrubbing. Let's go. Because you can do it. The thing that frustrates guys like you and I is we know we could do better. We know that cities don't have to be as crazy dangerous as they are. We know. And we've seen it happen under other administrations. I love, me, I just love quantifying things, basic numbers. You talk to Ukraine. I'm going to guess, just for round numbers, what we've given Ukraine? Let's just say $100 billion, right? I don't know, $100 billion. Let's just use that. Sheriff Mark Lamb had reminded me last spring that, do you realize that Trump and the Republicans were asking for $5 billion. It was between 4 and 5 to finish the wall.
Yeah.
And they said no. Of course, we saw that. We witnessed that.
Yeah.
But they'll spend $100 billion on Ukraine. I mean, I don't even care. I don't need to hear the logic. I don't need to hear any rationale. That doesn't make sense to me. And sadly, it's going to be years till we probably really find out where that money went, Mikey. You know how that goes. Why does it always take 2, 3, 4 years to find out? But we smell a rat. We smell a rat on that issue and others, Mike.
Yeah.
And bottom line, I wouldn't circle the wagons around my president at all. I'd never, if he opened up the border to close to 6 million people now, I wouldn't circle the wagons. I'd want to get him out of office, even if he was a Republican, Mike. Come on, man.
That's
so
me.
Here you go. You got me riled up today again.
That's exactly me. Like what you're saying now. Okay, so if somebody that I supported being in political office did that, I wouldn't back it just out of sheer, like, that's my team. And that's what happened actually with me and Stu Peters, because I was hosting his show, and I went on his show and said, look, if it wasn't for Trump green lighting Operation Warp Speed, we wouldn't have had all these vaccines that people are blaming on died suddenly. And I was talking to him privately, and he said, well, Trump couldn't have known that. And I said, well, but I had an inkling. And then you had Kennedy come out and say, we had Big Pharma. We had them. We were about to take them down, and Trump diverted course at the last second. And it's like, but, and so, like, going back to that tendency to not circle the wagons or circle the wagons.
Right.
I guess it's because maybe we have a higher standard or code. That being said, I do believe that God has all this in his hands, and it's going to go the way that he wants. But I mean, I can speculate on things once in a while. I've done it for years.
Speaking of previous shows in the year, we talked about this, and I was one of, you might even remember this. I took a position on that time, because we're dueling citizens.
Yeah.
I took a position that I don't forgive any politicians, but I really sense with Trump during two kind of key things. One was the vaccine, Operation Warp Speed, take out all the issues and morality and stuff out of it. It was the most incredible mobilization of the private sector ever seen in the history of the country, including World War II. They just take everything out of it. It was. But I don't think Trump, I think on two issues, not only the vaccine and warp speed, and on increasing the federal debt, I don't think Trump, and I'll defend him on this, I might be wrong, would have made those decisions as a CEO in the private sector. We all knew there was so much pressure in, especially that first 30 days of the COVID-19 crisis. It was called coronavirus at that time. People were dropping dead on the streets in China, Mike, on video. But I think he was forced in there's really, because no one knew what was going to happen. It was the only political decision he could have made, a decision to even have a shot at staying as president, was to go ahead and push forward that warp speed. I'm just going to defend him on that. And also, I think if you got him aside around a campfire, that he would have hated adding $1 to the national debt. And I think presidents are literally forced to do that. You know, you're going to vote for the omnibus for $1.7 trillion like they did this week, or you're going to shut down the government and be a meanie. You know, they're impossible situations. And I do believe Trump, if he could have had private sector CEO flexibility, would not have done warp speed, would have taken a bit of time to do clinical trials and all that stuff, and he would not have added $1 to the national debt. I think he would, any dollar he added, he would make an instant cut on spending. And again, I'm theorizing him in the private sector.
Well, I mean, let's give him this. Let's say that he figured he was going to have a second term, and that he would, keep the spending going, and then boost the economy and be able to throttle back on it. And but you know what I mean. That didn't happen, and like so many plans that people make, it just didn't happen.
You know, he tried. It's interesting, but he has a track record of and fact checkers, get ready for this. This is a fun stat. He had made a goal when he came in, based on one of his campaign promises, that he was going to attempt to eliminate outdated federal regulations, right? The millions of federal regulations. And that his policy, look this up, was any new regulation that came in, he demanded that 2 previous regulations would be cut.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And do you know what the track record was, Mike? There, at one point, there was 18 to 20 regulations being cut back on to every new regulation under Trump. And I challenge fact checkers out there. So never mind 2 to 1. He was really aggressively, at least his policy was aggressively trying to eliminate silly, outdated regulation, like a good libertarian would want him to do. So there you go. There you go, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's we can speculate now, but I mean, it is what it is, right? I'm very much looking forward to this new year coming. I've got high hopes and high expectations, no matter who's in the White House or the House of Commons. But I do want to talk a little bit about Alberta's situation, because you're also a proponent, as I am, of the statehood issue. But sometimes I forget that I'm surrounded by Canadians, Greg, because, and I'll give you an example. I was at a gas station just the other day, and I was talking to this guy and he looked like one of us, he looked like somebody that wasn't a dork, right? Like a lefty, right? and so we're talking, and this dude, like, we were having a conversation over the gas pump, putting gas in the vehicles, and I asked him, how was your holiday, and did the kids have a good Christmas? And I felt fairly comfortable talking to the guy. And so I said, yeah, my niece down in Idaho is 4 years old, and she got her first rifle. And this guy looks at me and he goes, that's effed up. And I'm like,
really?
Oh, you're one of those. And I never even knew it. You're one of those. And I said to him, well, I decided to press on the nerve a little bit. And I said, well, it's an American tradition. And he said, yeah, I bet it is. And that was it. We didn't talk again. And so
did you tell him about the archery bow that she got?
I didn't
bow and arrow.
I didn't mention that. But I was thinking after, and I thought, if I had told him, well, we've got to train her now to go fight for Volodymyr Zelensky, then he would have agreed with arming somebody.
Absolutely.
Or I could have said, well, we've got to train her for school shootings by 6 years old. Then it would have fit his confirmation bias that that's the only thing that happens in America is that people run around shooting each other in schools. And so we can get into that in the next little bit. Let's talk about Alberta and this Sovereignty Act. I'm going to get Dave Bjorkman on the show to talk about that because he is very I like Dave Bjorkman. He thinks different than most people and gets really deep into like UN and crown treaties and things like that and how things work with fuel royalties and natural resources, how they're taxed, how they're billed and these things. Fascinating stuff. And so we're going to get him on to talk about it, but let's get into that in the next segment. Sure. We've got to go to our commercial break, and I also want to talk about a miraculous healing that we had happen here with a rabbit due to the advice that Dr. Glidden gave on the show while I was talking to you, and that's right. I saved $600 in vet bills with a $20 bottle of minerals. I'm not joking. With a rabbit. And I was thinking, I have to take this rabbit for a drive and get out a 22, which I don't have a problem executing a rabbit. I don't, but well, we'll get into it on the other side. A lot of people are thinking, "Wow, Mike Filip, you're a murderer of bunnies." That's right!
It's in the first segment already. Where's the time going already, Mike?
Where does the time go? We'll be back after this, everybody.
Here we go.
There it is. There's our commercial break. We'll be back right after this, everybody. Minerals, miraculous healings, rabbits, new countries, new states. 2022 in review. Back after this.
You want to wake up refreshed, like you slept on a cloud? Get yourself the very best in bedding supplies today. You deserve it. Go to MyPillow.com and don't forget our very special promo code, MOJO50, for incredible savings.
At Meakin Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Meakin Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logoed designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Meakin Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at RoMikaDesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@RoMikaDesigns.com, or visit us on the web at RoMikaDesigns.com.
5 major food distributors have suffered explosions at food processing and storage facilities in the last few months. 20 more facilities have been destroyed by fires over the last 4 months. War in Ukraine drags on and holds the looming threat of nuclear escalation. U.S. inflation is officially reported above 8%. Mobs of people are whipped into frenzy by an increasingly unstable class of political elites. We live in interesting times. Political, economic, and financial collapse are all very real threats to our way of life. If the worst happens, make sure you and your loved ones are prepared with emergency food and supplies from preparewithmojo50.com. That's preparewithmojo50.com. Coffee lovers everywhere now have the opportunity to do their part to save the planet with Al Gore's lab-grown coffee substitute. We, here at Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change, believe this is a terrible idea. While man-bun-wearing, soy latte-loving poodle walkers everywhere are in love with the eco-friendly lab-grown sadness water, Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change want to see the sea levels rise, and for New York City to join the lost city of Atlantis, 12,000 leagues beneath the sea.
American Pride Roasters, historically great coffee. Every pot brewed is an eco-disaster 100 times greater than the Fukushima extinction level event. So order yours today and do your part to hasten the end of the planet. You don't want to live forever, do you? AmericanPrideRoasters.com. That's AmericanPrideRoasters.com.
How dare you?
We dare. We dare.
Flat Earth, the moon landing, JFK, 5G, Biden won the election. Hey lovelies, does anyone have any new conspiracy theories? Because all the ones I know have come true. Join me, Ria Bow, here on Sunday Long Live Radio, live every Sunday of the year, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard, 10 a.m. UK, and 9 p.m. New South Wales. I'll see you Sunday.
Americanuck Radio.
I would say the world's most underrated radio shows. Americanuck Radio. This guy, Mike Filip, is brilliant. I listen to him every day. Love your show. I really do. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Americanuck Radio.
Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Just open up your heart to Jesus, and he'll surely let you in.
Americanuck Radio.
Well, God loves the outlaw.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio on Mojo 50 WBN 324 and Stu Peters Network. So, if you remember, Greg, we had Dr. Glidden join us last time you were on the show. That was that was 2 weeks ago. Can you believe 2 weeks have gone by since then? But anyway,
he was amazing.
It was amazing. And but like here's the thing. I forgot to take my own advice. There was a time when this stuff just rolled off my tongue and I would tell other people, well, that's easy, just do this, this, and this, right? And so I had this issue come up, and I talked about it on the show, where my teeth were starting to go really bad, and I had to get one pulled. I had an abscess, and then they diagnosed me with osteonecrosis, which means that like your jawbone is dying, right? And so, so what ends up happening if you don't get it taken care of is that your bones basically disintegrate and your lower mandible can possibly fall off, which would seriously conflict with my job. If my lower jaw fell off, it'd be really difficult to do this. Let's face it. So what they did was they scheduled me for emergency oral surgery. And so there was a bone specialist on the south side of Edmonton that I was going to have to get a hold of. And they were going to do surgery and scrape the dying bone tissue out of my jaw and wire my jaw shut. And I would be on liquids for a while. And I was you know, I wasn't real worried about it. I didn't stress because I'm a firm believer in prayer. And I want to say something about that too. But so, you know, I was talking about these things on the show because I don't know, my life's an open book, really. And so I got a hold of Dr. Glidden. This is right after we did that show that I got that diagnosis, right?
Right.
I called Glidden and I told him, this is interesting. I said, I've been diagnosed with osteonecrosis And if you go look at images, if you Google that, osteonecrosis, it's pretty awful. It's horrible,
gross.
horrible what happens, right? Anyway, so Dr. Glidden gets back to me and he says, "Okay, Mike, here's the deal. Your dentist is an idiot, and don't do anything that they tell you for 28 days. Take 3 ounces of Beyond OsteoFX and 3 ounces of plant-derived minerals, which are some of the products that we sell on our website." Now, what occurred to me was that there was a time when I would have just said this to somebody else, right? That's what I would have told. If somebody had told me, "Oh, no, this is happening to me," I just said, "Don't worry about it. Your doctor's an idiot. Just do this," right?
Right.
Because, like the surgery, if they do the surgery, it doesn't take care of the condition that caused that to happen in the first place, right?
Sure.
Which is just a straight-up mineral deficiency. And so I followed Dr. Glidden's advice, did not schedule the surgery. And and so like what the dentist had diagnosed this, and they sent me home with these really, really harsh antibiotics to knock out the infection on this side of my mouth, which was causing me a considerable amount of pain. But and a bunch of other stuff like this big jar of painkillers and this mouthwash that's antibiotic. But the warning on it says this will turn your teeth blue or something. It's weird. But anyway, I didn't take any of that stuff, but I used my antibiotics that they sent me home with, and they were like destroying my brain. Like when I took these antibiotics, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't, I felt like garbage and just like crap. And so even though I had this infection going, I stopped taking the antibiotics, right? And I did what Dr. Glidden told me. Well, the infection cleared up in I think it was like 2 or 3 days. The pain was gone.
Wow.
And the bone that was jutting out on the inside of my gum line has started to deteriorate and break away. And it's shrinking, and the gum is expanding because it was just a mineral deficiency. And I'm on, he told me to do it for 28 days and see what happens. Well, it's 2 weeks and it's already working. And now, yeah, exactly. And so now here's the second part of this that you're going to think is pretty amazing. Okay. Matthew Willis says, "We had no idea your medical issue was so serious. You made it sound simple." Yeah, well, because I wasn't worried because I prayed. I wasn't. I trust God. I do. I've learned that, right? But anyway, yeah, it was. Any other time I would have been freaked right out because like my bones were crumbling. Anyway, due to the success that had happened so quickly with that, and I remembered my roots. Like this is stuff that I used to teach people on his radio show. We have these rabbits, right? And one of them had an infection in its ear. And so we had taken it to the vet, and it cost us around $400. And the vet had prescribed a bunch of antibiotics and special ear cleaner for lagomorphs and things like that. And we weren't getting on top of it. The rabbit's ear was, the infection was spreading, and there was actually a chunk of its ear that was missing. Like there was a gouge taken out of it. And I thought, okay, so I'm going to have to take this thing out in the woods, my little buddy Fudge, and I'm going to have to put one in its head, like out of mercy. Out of mercy, because like, you know, he wasn't doing well. So I thought to myself, why don't I give the rabbit some minerals? So listen to this. I have a bottle of strawberry kiwi mint, okay? And you can't see this part of the label because it's green and I'm in front of a chroma key screen, right? So I took the cap on the bottle, shook it up, and started putting a half a cap in their water bowl, right? Well, a couple of things happened right off the bat. I would fill their water bowl, Greg, and it would be gone. Like a full bowl of water between two little tiny rabbits would be gone in like 2 hours. They would like suck the water down. I'd never seen them do that before. And the second thing that happened, it's been about 1 week since I started giving the rabbit these minerals, and where the ear was like starting to disappear and crumble away, it's filled in, the scab is falling off, and the infection is clearing up so fast that my wife was shocked. Like, she got home yesterday and I said, look at Fudge's ear. Go look at it. And she was like blown away.
Wow.
So like a $20 bottle of minerals saved a $400 vet bill. And I'm thinking to myself, all this stuff with all this wrangling about the healthcare system and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we could literally, with the right information, fix this overnight. Like, and it would be so simple to do, but people just don't know. And what happened to me, Greg, was that I got tired of arguing with people, so I just stopped talking about it.
Sure. Oh, yeah. What an incredible story, Mike.
Yeah.
This is something everyone needs to hear. But going back to your teeth, what an amazing story.
Yeah.
Question for you. You know, this also has been close to my heart. You had tossed it out there a number of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You had a huge issue with your teeth. You were going in for surgery. And my question, as the old quantifiable business guy I am, is, okay, if Mike were going to have a perfect, happy smile and teeth that would make him happy, what kind of dental bill is that right now? What can we pray for to give you absolutely perfect teeth? Now, I want to adjust that now and say, Mike, talk to me here about what your experience, and is that even a valid question anymore to you? Because I'll tell you what, that Dr. Glidden is amazing, Mike. He's amazing.
Yeah, I like.
What's your thought? What's your thought on your own teeth, though? I mean, seriously.
Well, like, here's the thing. I've still got several missing. Okay, like I look like I grew up in the Ozarks. But
sorry, you look like a French Canadian. Okay, I didn't say that.
Fair enough.
I didn't say that.
But like, here's the thing. Like I said, I had stopped taking my own advice, and if I had continued doing those things this whole time, I wouldn't have run into that problem to begin with. Now, I've got I'm back in the position that I was when I started all of this all those years ago. And I'm kind of kicking myself, but I learned a lesson. As far as getting new ones, I don't know. Is it going to cost me $10,000, $15,000? But here's the thing. I'm not worried about it. Like, I know that God is able to do above all that we ask or think. And my faith has grown so much in the last year that it's just not even I don't see it as being an issue. If I need that, if I ask for it, I will get it. And like, and I wanted to mention this. I've told people on the show every day, I think just about every day, to pray for 20 minutes a day. Like, get alone, shut the door, talk to him. I am very proud to say that this year I have not missed a day. I haven't missed one day, and I'm not saying that like I'm better than anybody else or you should be more like me. What it is like we read stories in our Bible about Daniel and the lion's den, right? And everybody, wow, that Daniel, the lions didn't eat his face, right? Well, what it was that he was thrown in that lion's den because he prayed every day and he didn't care who knew about it. And so I took that lesson, and what I've been doing is encouraging everybody, pray every day. Pray every day. Get alone, Talk to God. His name is Jesus. Ask him for what you need. Talk to him about your kids. Talk to him about your parents. Talk to him about your grandkids. And I've seen so many things happen, and my faith has grown so much because of that, like this morning, my 20 minutes turned into half an hour, and I didn't even know that it had gone by that long. But the thing is, there's so many people out there that I deal with on a regular basis, and the list keeps growing, that and look, if you're in Jesus's kingdom, the healthcare plan is phenomenal. And like you know, just this what happened with the rabbit and with like I still have a medicine cabinet with antibiotics and painkillers in it. And I never touched the painkillers. I didn't even do half of the antibiotics. And it was just a dumb $20 bottle of minerals, like literally. And,
incredible,
and so,
Mike.
like,
It's incredible, man.
Yeah, sometimes God will just touch you and heal you. We've seen that here. We had a woman a couple weeks ago that was just overnight healed of a chronic kidney issue. Just boom. No, didn't take no minerals or nothing, right? But in other cases, God led me to Glidden at that time. And that's not why I called him and said, let's do a show. He had reached out to me because Elon Musk took over Twitter, and all of a sudden he was on my radar again. And it led to that whole thing with you know, I got the diagnosis, but I had been in touch with Glidden because Elon Musk took over Twitter. And it's like the whole course of events when you're being led by the Spirit is absolute. Like when you look back, you don't know how the little things it seems that happen day to day when you're in prayer are working in your favor, but they do.
As we approach the year end, you now have quantifiable results, Mike. Everything you've been sharing here, which has been awesome, man. You have had quantifiable results for 2022. And you are telling me you are going to be in prayer 20 minutes a day, and you'll do it all the way through, what is it, Saturday? So you 365 days a year. And it has proven to you that it works.
Nobody can take that away from you.
You've been showered with blessings, Mike. Showered. You've told us about 2 or 3 already. So it works.
Yeah.
It works.
It works. And not only that, but you know, just being a fisher of men and going out and finding the lost and doing church and having Bible studies on the show every day. I have seen more miracles in the last 2 years than, frankly, I can remember. I can't remember. Like, if I sit down and try to remember all the things that God has done, they just keep coming. They keep coming. They keep coming. And let me give you an example, okay? Like, I have that Facebook account, right? That Benjamin Ebel of the 51st State Alberta group made for me, and he put the name Thomas Jefferson Eagle on it, right? Well, I've had it for a very long time, and I don't use it very much. Okay, so I'm in prayer. I get led to, I find this apostolic worldwide Facebook group, and I hit the join button, and I think that I'm just doing stuff, right? Wasting time looking at Facebook, but I prayed that day, And so through a course of events where I'm on there, I run into this guy named Jacob. He's in Ohio, and he is in the process of getting the revelation of the name of Jesus and Acts 2:38 salvation. I don't normally reach out to people that I don't know, but, well, I mean, in that capacity anyway. And so I just shoot him a private message and, hey, Jacob, I see that you're, God is showing you some things. And so, long story short, this man is looking for a place to have this done because his pastor at the church he's going to refuses. He says, no, I will not baptize you in Jesus' name the way Peter said to do it in the book of Acts. And so I called Nathaniel Rios. He lines me up with Pastor Troy Wooten in this man's area of Idaho. He goes, gets baptized in Jesus' name, gets filled with the Holy Ghost, comes up out of the water, speaking in tongues. And that all came, and it wasn't even through the show. He didn't know who Mike Filip and Americanuck Radio is and all that. But just on a little side project, I guess, I was led to this man who was born of the water and the Spirit, and not even through the just on a what I thought was a seeming random activity, but it wasn't.
Right. Well, that's the way it happens, right, Mike?
Yeah.
You tossed it out there. It's called a fleece. You didn't even think of it seriously like that. We put out fleeces or outbound contacts all the time. You know, a text here, or email there, join a group there, and you by the grace of God you met this guy, and so there's some of the greatest things in the world, greatest connections in the world come out of the blue, don't they? They just come out of the blue. There's something in your inbox one day, and you go, wow. And that's what happened to you with this gentleman. That's
exactly.
So cool.
Well,
that's
and
so
not just
cool.
him. Matthew Willis, Madeline, Dudley, Mike Ball. I'm seeing God do so many things in people's lives. And let me tell you one other thing. I almost quit doing what I'm doing because I was getting down on myself, thinking I'm not a preacher. I'm not qualified. I'm not this. I'm not that. But what happened was I just, I ignored all that. Well, thanks to the district superintendent of the UPCI in Calgary for the Canadian Plains District, who was put in my path. And I told him, I said, I'm not qualified to do this. I'm not. I can't. I got to stop. And he said, Mike, you've got to keep going. You have to. You have to. You'll never be happy if you quit.
Right.
And if I had, where would Madeline be? Where would Matthew be? Where would And so I am so fueled to keep going. And we've seen the 5 loaves and 2 fishes turn into 2,000. We've seen healings. We've seen men and women born again. We've seen, and so I've had word of knowledge for different people. Jesus said, "These signs shall follow them that believe." They're here, and I tell people this stuff. It's so amazing to me because miracles will happen, and you tell people God did this, and they look at you and go, "Yeah, well, however it happened, that's great. I suppose that's real wonderful." And it's like, you don't understand. This is amazing. And so, I used to wonder, how was it that in Jesus' day, all these things were happening around him, and people there was a lot of people out there that did not care? It's the same thing today. And there's certain ones that are just allowed to see it and some that aren't. And so I've learned a lot. Let's put it that way. In the last 2 years, I'm a different guy than I was 3 years ago. That's for sure.
Well, the 2 things you brought up that are real important. When you get everybody gets doubts. The doubts. I'm not worthy, not worried. What am I doing this for? And that in alcohol rehab and recovery, they used to call that stinking thinking.
Right.
It's the devil's work. Right. Stinking thinking. And so everybody gets it. It's just a matter of being aware of it, and knowing when you get into stinking thinking, get down and praying and get that stinking thinking out of you. You know. Secondly, you brought up something that was really interesting, Mike, because you've been a pastor for a while now, and to hear you mentioned something that you felt that you learned a lot in the last, whether it's few weeks, few months, totally in dealing with Dr. Glidden and that miracle and stuff, that you felt like you learned a lot. You learned more than you knew the day before. And what you're describing, it's so funny. What you're describing is something I learned from Toyota 20 years ago. It's called Kaizen. It's spelled K-I-A-Z-E-N, Kaizen, which is Japanese for continuous daily growth.
Hey, can you hold that thought? Can you hold that? We've got to go to our network break. Continuous daily growth. I like that. And maintenance.
Great,
everything requires maintenance. You got to put oil in your car. You've got to charge your phone. You've got to talk to your kids. You've got to spend time with your wife. You've got everything requires maintenance. And it's really just that simple. Man. We're going to go to our network break, and when we come back, I'm just really digging this conversation. I got to say, Greg, I'm having fun here.
We've only just begun
to live. All right.
The most underrated thing about you is your singing voice. You know that? I'm going to have you, sing Happy Birthday today, man.
We'll be back after this, everybody.
Well, I find it hard to believe that a fish walked on land and started evolution when its fins hit the sand. Or that some green blob sprouted arms while sitting on a log. I find it hard to believe I have the mind of a frog. 'Cause I believe in Jesus in the old-fashioned way. And I believe that he is coming back again someday. Hey! I find it hard to believe that men were all apes, and they wanted this land of plenty with bananas and grapes. And then one day, ape became man. Now, ain't that terrific? But just quite how we are not sure, we can't be specific. Well, I believe in Jesus in the old-fashioned way. I believe that he is coming back again someday. Hey! Well, I find it hard to believe that there's no purpose to life. Just gathering my money and finding a wife. I find it hard to believe that I'm just living to die. No, I don't believe it. And I'll tell you why. 'Cause I believe in Jesus in the old-fashioned way. I believe that he is coming back again someday. Hey! One more time I said it, I believe in Jesus in the old-fashioned way. I believe that he is coming back again someday. Hey!
Sounds like Spock's getting shot out of a cannon here. All right. Coming back to the show here in about 2 minutes, everybody. Greg, it's so good to have you back.
Dude, I'm serious, too. Don't get me emotional here. It's year end. We're back together again, or I'll start crying on the air again, man.
Today on Americanuck Radio, Greg Meakin cries like a little French girl.
That's right. I drive my wife crazy. I'm turning into Alan Alda the older I get. Dude. It's just unbelievable. I'm thinking about going to an Air Supply concert again. You know?
You're wussing right out. Okay.
We gotta laugh. Man. We gotta have fun, man. That's it. Honestly, we gotta laugh. We gotta have fun in life, man. We really do.
God is so good. He really is. You know, we started out talking about Trump and stuff, and I just, I don't care. I've seen God do so many amazing things that's what it always comes back to for me. And personal growth. Let's start off with that after the intro here when we get back into the second hour.
Yeah.
Growing
I got a really good anecdote for that. That's so important, man. I got a real good anecdote for that.
You got an anecdote for everything.
Oh, dude, I really do. It's almost scary. You know,
you're freaking me out, man.
Too.
All right.
Remember, jack of all trades and master of all, man. You know.
All right, we're going live in about as of 2 seconds from now, 20 seconds. Here we go. I'm going to mute you. I'll bring you in, Greg.
Rock on.
All right. That's the good thing about this job is I can mute Greg Meakin. He can say whatever he wants right now. Nobody's going to hear it. Going back live in hour 2, everybody, for our radio affiliates.
With great mojo comes great responsibility. Mojo 50.
And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Americanuck Radio. News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Filip.
Welcome back to hour 2 of Americanuck Radio, and we're kind of doing a year in review, and I guarantee you this year in review show